All right, Drizzle, thank you for joining me. The very first Grady TV episode ever. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
I want to get into it with you about your life and your. Let's start with your childhood. How was
All right.
that?
My childhood was, well, I was born in Southern California, um, and the South Bay specifically. And, it was it wasn't normal, but, obviously it was just me and my mom and then my grandma. My dad was not around. But I was kind of born into like a little situation of addicts. My mom was a addict for a long time. I'm not sure at what point she decided to be a drug dealer or if that was already happening. But that was a thing, and for most of my life. And then my grandma was a heroin addict, but she was like a functional addict, and she worked every day like a normal person. She just had her thing that she did. And, I went to school like everybody else, but I got bullied a lot. So that was happening. Um, my dad wasn't really around very much. He would come around like Christmas time and basically, bring like a toy, like a RC car, and then I would be excited to see him and excited to get the car, and then the car wouldn't have batteries, and so it was kind of like a thing. And he was coming with his wife or girlfriend at the time, I'm not sure, that would sit out in the car outside, so it was just like a weird thing. But it wasn't normal, but it was like more normal than a lot of the other people that I associated with in my lifetime.
Did you have
Um,
any bonding with your father at all, other than the Christmas meetings?
I went with him one time. He took me out at some point. Um, it's the first time that I encountered weed and stuff like that, and like nickel sacks or whatever. And it was like me and three of my brothers at that time because there was three of his kids, and then it was me. And I remember we went to like this. I don't know, maybe it was a New Year's party or something, and they were all having a good time. And for some reason, I ended up like most of the night just in his truck, like crying, like I'm in pain, but um, kind of and not really. There wasn't that much of a bond. I don't really know much about him, really, honestly.
And is he deceased now?
Yeah, he's dead.
How long?
I'm not sure.
Oh, when was the last time you saw him? What age?
Um, is 5, 6, 7.
Oh, really? You haven't seen him that long, but you have spent time with his family, right?
Yes.
And you don't really get along with them?
It's not that I don't get along. It's just I don't think that it's different. You know what I mean? We're like half siblings. And at that time, I was going through my own stuff when I decided to go and reach out in like the most extreme way, like going and staying with my half sister in Wisconsin. It was, you know what I mean? It wasn't like it was just a fucked up situation all around.
Right. Let me ask you. So you didn't really have much of a relationship with your father. So how did you get a hold of your half sibling? Did were they aware of your existence, or did you just kind of pop up on them?
I'm not sure how we got it was through social media and we connected there first and then we started talking on the phone. Um, but I can't really. It was a very, very long time ago. It was in 2013, so or before, like yeah, 2013.
Okay. And did you get along with your your half sibling?
We don't really talk very much, but like we don't, you know, when we do reach out, it's not like fuck you, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like that. Yeah. So I guess.
So you just really don't know much about your father, really. I mean, is there anything else you can share about that, or?
Well, I do know that he picked the winners for the Kentucky Derby at one time. Um, he was a goofball. I have like a lot of his, goofball side, I guess, and he like worked in casinos and stuff like that. He liked the horse races and shit like that. And yeah, that's about it. And he liked to drink and smoke weed.
Okay, so your mother and father were not married. You grew up basically with your grandmother. Your mother was also living there as well.
No, I was living with my mom and my grandma was living there.
Oh, I see. Okay, so your grandma was living with you, but your grandma was kind of like your primary caregiver growing up, right?
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. I mean, she did, we did it. We spent a lot of time together. Like we would go to feed the ducks at Polywog and Alondra Park, and she would pull me along in my wagon and read me to sleep every night. You know what I mean? Read me books and stuff like that. We read almost the whole series of Harry Potter together. So like different things like that. My mom was around, but she was kind of like in her room or she was gone, and I have memories with her though too. But like they were different. Like going to the movies and every year. It just felt like almost like overcompensating.
Right. But she did give you like sort of a family vibe
Yeah,
growing
no,
up, right?
she was making money, but just not in a way that was normal. Like I had a lot of the things like my friends would want to come over and hang out because I had all the snacks, you know what I mean? Like I was
Right.
spoiled because I was getting do you know what I mean? Like I was in a different kind of situation.
What kind of area was it that you were growing up in?
A
Was it
shitty one. It was a
so?
shitty area. It was like a dead end street. I remember there was two houses specifically before I started really getting into drugs, and it was the house that I don't remember much about it. I remember having a friend that like kind of lived across the street or whatever. Then we moved over to the one that was in Gardena, like in the like unincorporated area, I guess you could say, because they would get all the different kinds of cops, and it was a dead end street. And there's a lot of drug dealing and a lot of like everybody kind of knew everybody though because it was a dead end street, so people from like the apartments from this side talk to people over here and in these apartments, and then like there was like a mix, like there was like blacks and Mexicans and like one Asian that I knew that lived like right in, because it was kind of like a driveway, and then you would pull in and there's houses like on each side, and so that's where I lived at. That I spent a lot of my time
So we're talking from birth to what age you were living in this area,
in
or
that
around?
immediate
You
in
probably moved
Gardena.
around a lot, right? But in that
No,
area,
in Gardena, like I lived in one house that I remember one house. I don't know how long I was there. That was Gardena. That was like off of fucking some shit. Like it was Gardena or Torrance, Gardena, Torrance, whatever. Borderline, I guess you could say. And then I moved into uh, kind of like the Gardena. It's Gardena. It's an unincorporated area. I'm not sure how it works now, but Gardena. It's kind of like by El Camino College,
all right.
but like on the other side of the maze. And so we
So you,
spent 12 years, 13, 13, 14, 12, 13 years in that house.
So
We didn't move around very
we're
much.
talking about middle school age. You're
Elementary, kindergarten.
all the way through to middle school. You're in this environment of a lot of drug dealing. Your mother also was dealing during this whole time, right?
My mother was dealing, and that was it. My grandma was just an addict, and my mom was an addict.
Your grandma
Uh,
did the meth as well.
no, she did heroin
Oh,
and
heroin.
weed.
Okay. All
Now there
right.
was
So
burn holes all over everything. Burn holes in the keyboard for the computer. We had a big old like green lazy chair that had a thing like fucking. We had to have like little things on the side and shit covering it, or like a whole thing covering it up because of all the burn holes that we were in. I didn't understand any of that until way later.
your grandma shoot up.
Yeah, she was a heroin addict.
Well, some people smoke it, snort it
No,
too. Just more. It just lasts longer if you shoot it up. You know. So, was she like just straight up shooting up right in front of you?
no,
Okay, so you never really saw her doing that.
no.
And I would guess being on heroin, was she pretty functional or was she just kind of like out of it a lot?
Well, I was very young, but I remember I she worked. She wasn't there all day, and I was in school,
Okay.
so I, I didn't see her. And then when I got home, I remember they tried to put me. So like in kindergarten, I don't remember a lot. You know what I mean? I remember it being. I remember like a Thanksgiving. I remember having neighbors and friends and playing outside a lot. You know what I mean? And having that shit, and then having like a big old box of Barbies that I never really wanted to play with any of them except for the Ken. And then having like, video games were always a thing. A big old fucking like credenza thing full of movies, VHS tapes. So I was kind of just like I could do my own thing. Like I was I got read to, and like we would have little outings and stuff like that. But like for the most part at home, like I could entertain. I was entertaining myself.
All right. So you were watching a lot of movies,
Yeah.
probably listening to a lot of music.
Playing a lot of video games.
Did you have a lot of friends coming over or were you more of a
Yeah,
loner?
I did. I had like neighborhood friends and stuff like that. Uh, for a little bit, like, we would have there's not a lot of time. I started drugs very early, so at like
Okay,
12 or
well,
13.
let's get into your school life. Now, you've
Okay.
mentioned before that you were bullied. At what point in your life did that start?
Like the whole time.
So, like right off, kindergarten, first grade, right off the bat.
Far back as I can remember.
And what kind of bullying was happening? What were they doing?
Name calling,
Like what kind of names?
all of the names, everything.
I mean, what was your problem? Were they saying that you were ugly or fat or
Ugly, fat. I had freckles. I had nappy hair, and then my mom didn't really do much back then. She would just put it into like this one big dookie braid in the back of my head, and then fucking, I was always like kind of tomboyish and stuff, and fucking, just different things like that, or as far back as I can remember, it was always just bullying of some sort, or I was just weird, I guess, the weirdo kid. I don't know, maybe. But it was more recognizable, like I can remember in like elementary, kindergarten. I'm not, you know, it was happening. I'm sure, you know what I mean. Like I
right?
was always kid, but um, I don't have any time specifically remembering in kindergarten, but I do remember elementary for sure.
Right. Okay. So For those that don't know, you are a female to male transgender.
Yes.
Um, at what point did you start to feel like you might not be female?
Well, it was very young. It was like I think I was having feelings for a female and felt different like at like 5 or 6.
Oh, really?
It was very, very young.
Okay.
Very young. I always felt weird or different. Like I wasn't like all the other kids. You know what I mean?
So
Like
you knew
everybody
about
just felt.
you knew about sex and all that at 5, or was it just
No, I just felt
something?
different. Like I didn't play with. I didn't like all of my girlfriends. You know what I mean? Like fucking. I had a crush. Like I had like the crush. When you're running around with like your little crushes when you're like a little kid. It wasn't a boy.
Right.
It was a fucking girl. So, that my first like emotional experience and turning later out into sexual later was a female, but it was still very young. You know what I mean? But it was kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, she was just like my best friend, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And we spent a lot of time together and stuff like that. But that was like a whole thing. Like, uh, her parents were very abusive, and for some reason we weren't. I don't know what happened, but I stopped being in contact with her, and so I started hanging out with more people from like my street because she lived a few streets over, and I was always at her house, like, and she was always we were always hanging out and stuff like that. So,
Okay. And at
but
what age did the your drug use begin?
um, young, like 13, maybe I would have to say.
And what did you start out with?
Weed,
So you had weed before alcohol?
yeah.
Okay. And where were you getting it?
I first tried it with my dad, I think. Yeah, it was with my dad.
Oh, so
And then when
one
I,
of the few times you hung out with your dad, you guys blazed up.
the only time, that one time that he took me out was the first time that I came. He had me roll up his weed. I'm not sure if I smoked it with him, but I definitely came in contact. And around that same time, after smelling it and all that, I knew that it was happening at my house too. And so I kind of found it, and then like I was finding like joint roaches and then smoking those.
Okay, so from there you started smoking weed, and then you're still being bullied at school.
Yeah,
And at this point, I'm guessing you're around 13. Do you know for a fact that you're? I guess at that time you would have thought of yourself as a lesbian.
yeah,
Okay. And you hadn't had any kind of relationship at all up to that point?
no,
All right. Let me collect my thoughts here.
not really. Like there was a like a relationship with my best friend's brother, but it wasn't like outwardly like it was around like 12 or 13. Like I didn't I didn't specifically lose my virginity at that time because we weren't going through that way, but I was having sex with my best friend's brother, but we weren't in a relationship.
Okay. So when you were let's go into your high school years at this point. Unless there's anything between 13, I guess it's just like a year. You're in
Junior
high school.
high?
Yeah, you're in high school now. And have you had a girlfriend yet?
No.
And you're smoking weed. Anything else?
still getting bullied. But at this point in high school, like it was different. Like everybody had their own faction, so I was trying to fit in somewhere at this point. And I was doing a lot of dumb shit, so I ended up getting expelled from the whole school district.
What did you get expelled for?
Brandishing a knife.
So you brought a knife to school, and I guess maybe someone was bullying you, and you pulled it on
Well,
them,
yeah,
or
I had it out. I had it out. I pulled it out because someone stole my Walkman.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were like completely expelled after that,
Yeah. When I went
and
to the board. I went in front of the board and all this, and then they ended up expelling me, and then I had to go to continuation school
okay. So was that for the rest of high school?
for the good majority of it.
Okay, and
For a
then
good majority of, yeah, pretty much, yeah. For the good majority of, I would have to say freshman and a little bit of a sophomore. I would
okay.
have to
So I'm not
say.
really familiar with what a continuation school is. How is it different from a high school?
It's a good question. It's kind of
Is it like filled with people that got expelled or something, or?
that's like honestly, like to be honest, Grady, that's kind of I wasn't around, and this is how I know I was different. Because I was around a lot of gang members, drug activity, people that were like selling and doing their shit at that age. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like um, just wild shit. People going in and out of juvenile hall and like gang activity and just like crazy stuff. And I
What
do
was? Can you give me an example of some of the craziest shit you saw there?
just a lot of fights. A lot of people would pull up. It's not like crazy shit that I saw there. Like it's kind of just it was weird. It was set up like very weird. Like the first one was very weird. It was set up like alpha and I can't even remember like alphas and betas or some bullshit. Like whoever was there longer and fucking I don't know. And there's just like nobody really wanted to be there, you know. It was a bunch of bullshit. They're all just like it just seemed like very like blah. And they would bring in people that were like ex gang members, and they would have their like little like oh la di da, you know what I mean? And I'm just like sitting there and like I'm like, oh, I get it, but like I'm not in a gang, but I could see, how this would, you know what I
Right.
mean, be beneficial to some other people. But I'm doing my own shit, like I'm smoking weed and at that point, I already know I didn't just start off smoking meth, but I already knew what my mom was doing because she told me because I needed to know because I couldn't go off and like do some dumb shit and then like for lack of a better term, like get her caught up. And
Okay.
then she didn't want to lose me either. So
Right. So I would imagine the bullying and all that intensified at the continuation school, or was it actually more chill because
um
everyone's kind of fucked up like you?
it was there was bullying, but like you gotta understand, like I'm not there was bullying the whole time, but I'm not able to level the intensity of it because most of the time I try to just push out a lot of it. I would have to say in junior high, I was getting bullied way more and way harder than anything. And then high school came along and it was kind of like, I guess, an aspect like everybody's kind of doing their own thing, but there was still bullying. Like I was still the weirdo. People still had bad days and needed to take it out on somebody.
Right. So at what point did you end up going back to the normal high school, or did you just finish out your days in school
I
at
actually
this?
went to a fucking Christian school, and then they ended up putting me in an ADHD or ADD class, and I dealt with that for a little bit.
And
My mom was paying.
what grade
I don't
was that?
remember. I don't remember. That was like that. I think that was like elementary or something like that. I don't know, but I was there. I did that, and then I don't remember. I don't remember
So you got
exactly
into high
when.
school, you got expelled, you got into this continuation school. Did you
Yeah,
ever
but
go back to the
I don't
normal
know
school after
exactly at
that,
what
or?
point I went back to school.
But you did go back to the normal high school at some point?
Yeah, I don't know what grade or like at what they put me in. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how that worked because I went from continuation school to regular school,
And
and then
did you still know people from when you were there before, or was this a whole new
I
school?
didn't know. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I knew people from my street and stuff. This one chick and then like her sister and stuff like that. And I didn't really I didn't really have that many like friends other than um like my street friends. But we separated and went to different high schools. You know what I mean? And even different. A lot of people went to Lawndale, and I didn't go to Lawndale. I went to Lusinger, Lucifinger. And so after that, like, and then they all started on their bullshit way, like, on their deep end bullshit way before I did. And they were all running amok and doing their stuff. So I was still just kind of like strutting along, doing, you know, So no, I didn't really have a lot of people that I knew from my childhood in my high school.
So
Maybe like
was
one or two.
I guess it was difficult, for the remainder of your high school years to connect with anyone? Or
Um,
did you end up getting friends and getting some
yeah,
kind
no,
of?
I got friends. I had this one, the ex-best friend that I talk about a lot in my streams. We had came in contact with each other around maybe like junior high times. Like I had friends, my street friends that I was like I would ditch and stuff like that out of junior high and stuff. So I had those people, like the people that I in later years would do drugs with, and they were around. Um, one the my ex best friend went to school with me, but like at that time we weren't as close, so I was making kind of my own friends and doing my own thing. And I had like maybe one or two good friends that I can remember out of the bunch. And then just a lot of other people that I hung around with. You know what I'm saying? And I hate to say that because I'm not sure like how it was all going down. So I was like really fucked up, you know what I mean? I was
Right.
already messed up going back into high school. Like back into regular high school, I was already doing drugs. So
So did you end up graduating?
I did not. I got pulled out because I got my eyebrow pierced in third period.
Okay, so you got pulled out, not expelled though. You just
No, my mom pulled me out and wanted to homeschool me, and then that never happened. And so later on, I ended up getting a GED.
all right. So at that point, when you were completely finished going to school, do you remember? Were you like 17, 16?
Completely finished going to school. Yeah. Uh, Yeah, I was pulled out probably around like 15, 14, something around there. Yeah.
Okay.
hmm
So you were pretty. I mean,
I didn't get to. I experienced. I went to a homecoming game, but that doesn't matter. I think I was like. I was never a senior or junior. Oh, I think I was a junior. I was class of 2018 or or 19. I forget.
Okay.
2008, sorry, not 1918,
So once
2008 or
once you
2009.
left school, what did you do at that point? I mean, it doesn't sound like you were really. Did you start working right away,
No, I kind
or
of just was like fucking around. Because I think I pretty much left, I think, in my sophomore, before the end of sophomore, or around that time. So I kind of was just fucking around and like at my house, and I was not getting homeschooled or anything like that. Um, Nothing like that. I was just kind of just fucking around, really, doing drugs, hanging out.
and at this point it's still just marijuana?
No, I was already deep into meth by the time that I got into back into public school,
So what age did you get into meth?
like 12 or 13, 13, something like that.
And how did your first time with that happen?
Um, I was already like giving people, I was stealing it from my mom, and I was giving it to people, and people wanted to hang out and like be around me because I had the bag, and I was first just doing that. I was kind of just giving it away. And then I remember one time I was like, I kind of want to see what everybody is fucking talking about. And so like I found out, I knew how they were using it, uh, duh, because I was around in rooms. And so I was at home alone and I didn't know how to use it. So I called my friend because I was like putting it in the hole and trying to like do it like that. I didn't know you had to put it all the way inside and like melt it down. And then so I called her and then she told me how to do it. And so that kind of just like turned into me like tweaking, I guess. I just remember cleaning the front windows like over and over and over again. Like they couldn't be like,
Right.
I could not get them clean,
And you were just stealing it off your mom the whole time, basically.
basically. Yeah.
Did she ever become suspicious?
I think she was in denial, but she also had people living with her too. So I think at some point she thought it was them that was stealing it. And um, there were some times that I didn't. I wasn't stealing it. Like I would, get money or whatever and go and be part of like purchasing it at that age. It wasn't. It was still weird. Like it was very new at the beginning.
Right. So at what point did you feel like you were addicted to it?
Um, Probably like right after I used it.
Okay, so it was like right off the bat, you just kept going. So at that point, when you got pulled out of school,
Well,
and
not right after. I would say like I used it one time and then I, well, yeah, like I continued to use it, but I didn't feel that's hard. That's a very hard question.
right, but
Yeah.
at that point, when you got pulled out of school, you're basically, are you drinking yet regularly?
I was skipping in continuation school. Hold on.
All right.
What? Don't breathe it in. Anyway, where were we at? Forgot what we were talking about.
Okay,
What
go
were we
ahead and sit
talking?
back down here. Okay, so when you got pulled out of continuation school, were you? I mean, I'm sorry. Let me. Okay, so
There's something on fire. Sorry, and over there.
oh, that's okay. I can edit this later. I'm a little frazzled myself. I'm kind of trying to remember because the conversation is kind of going all over the place. It's like a Quentin Tarantino nonlinear film where the
Sorry.
well, that's okay. I'm trying to. That's my fault for not being more direct with the questions. But so anyway, we were talking about at what point did you feel what at what point did you start drinking alcohol?
Oh, I went to a few continuation schools, and the first one was pretty crazy. I don't really remember very much out of that one. I just remember everything being a blur because it was all very new to me. And then for some reason, I guess I got maybe kicked out of there or something. I don't remember. And then I had to go to another one. And that ends up being right over here in the area that I'm pretty close to where I'm at now. And I would pretty much just act like I was walking up there and then wait for whoever was dropping me off to pull off. And then I would just take a bus and another bus and then get off and meet my friend like halfway, which was at this liquor store off of Hawthorne Boulevard or Prairie, excuse me. No, whatever, doesn't matter. And anyway, we would fucking uh, get beers, still reserve, and drink those walking down the alley. And
Did you
that
steal
those
them?
no, I would buy them because I had like lunch money because you had to buy things. You know,
And
we would
they
buy
would
stuff off
just
the roach coach. You know, the roach coach used to pull into this school, and you would get everybody was getting like burgers and fries and stuff like that. So I was obviously getting a little bit of money there to spend for lunch, and I was taking it and getting alcohol.
okay. So at that point, when you get pulled out of school for having your eyebrow pierced, you're drinking, you're smoking weed, you're addicted to
Using
meth.
using drugs, yeah.
You have a lot of people from.
I would eat meth with my best friend in the bathroom. I would eat it, and by the time I got back to the classroom, it was already processing, and I would sit there high as fuck in class, like with all the answers.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been pulled out of school at this point. How long were you just kind of fucking around like that aimlessly?
Yeah, a long time, a super long time.
We talking like 19, 20, 21?
Uh, no, I think I already had my stuff by 21. I would have to say like maybe a year, or maybe I didn't. I'm not quite sure. I think I got my shit in 2015, to be honest. Or 16, 2000. No, 2014, 2013. I was like 22 or something like that.
Okay,
Let's
so what?
remember. What was I doing? I was already working at some bullshit job, so it was past. It was like maybe around 21 or 20, somewhere around there, 21, 20, 22.
Okay, so why did you get the GED?
Because I wanted to, I needed to. At that point, like I was already, I'm not sure really. Like, I had one job, but it wasn't like that big of a deal. Oh shit. Uh, I was kind of just like, I had my first job at 2000 and well, I was 16, so and whatever the fuck that was, what 2016, I guess, or whatever. And then 2006, I mean, whatever the fuck, 2006. And so I had my first job around that time, and uh, I was working at a bowling alley, and I was on drugs at that point, and I was just kind of doing it because it was I was doing the normal thing or whatever, and I stopped doing that job, and it wasn't until about 2019 that I got my second job, um, or my third job, actually. Excuse me.
Okay.
And I worked
So,
at Carl's Jr. as well. So I was bouncing around from job to job, but I really didn't need to because I was kind of at that point I was spoiled. Like I could just like sit home really if I wanted to. What I should have did was just spend all of my time in school, so I didn't really need to worry about anything else. But I wasn't doing that.
okay. So,
I did that for about a year, and that was it. Or no, I did that here. It's all like a conglomeration of shit, Grady. It's all hard
right.
to
So,
place
like, so I'm
dates.
guessing 2019, you would have been around 30.
29, yeah. So it goes with the end of the year. So and I that's why I get confused because in 2005 I'm 15, right? And in 2015 I'm 25.
Mm.
So it gets a little confusing, you know what I mean? Because everything is just a conglomeration of bullshit, really. It's a
Now, I
lot
know
of
that
unimportant
I know
shit.
you mentioned earlier, like your first sexual experiences were with men. Are you a full-blown
No,
lesbian
my
at this
first
point?
sexual experience was with a woman, and it was with my best friend that I was talking about.
Oh, okay. I thought you had said it was her brother or something.
No, that was another one of my friends. That was my guy friend, my
Oh,
guy
okay.
best friend. Well, because she disappeared. We were, I was hanging out with her a lot when I was younger, and then like she kind of like disappeared, and I made friends with the people that were on my street, and then also with some of the people that my mom was selling drugs to, which was this person, this guy best friend was one of those.
But you're fucking around with men and women all during this time, though, right? Like there's
I had a lot of girlfriends. I had not a lot of girlfriends.
sexual partners.
I had a no. I had a lot of I was in after because I catfished a lot of people, and during that time um I was with females, you know what I mean? But I didn't have a lot of sexual partners, no. It was like I can probably count them with like your hand and all of my hands and feet, maybe, or on both of my hands and feet. I'm not sure. It's not that many, to be honest,
Okay,
you
so
know.
basically, from the time you get pulled out of school and you're around 15, 16 to age 29, you're just kind of going around taking drugs, drinking. You're working, I'm guessing, part-time jobs here and there, full-time jobs.
Well, so it was 25. So from basically 13 to 25, but in between there, like I said, I got pulled out of I was in a continuation school and I got pulled out of public school.
All right, so
But once I went back and then got pulled out, and I was supposed to be getting homeschooled. So from like basically 15 to 16 to 25. I think I got my GED at 25, to be honest. I'm not sure. But anyway, I had worked a few jobs and it was just my grandma passed away in 2014. So it was up until then that I was really fucked up. And then I was fucked up for a while after that. And then I was trying to get sober and I relapsed a few times, and it's all really, I don't have dates or like time frames, you know what I mean? But like I relapsed a few times, and then at some point I just didn't do drugs again. I didn't do meth again. And I'm not sure why, but I just didn't do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Just kind of gave it up.
yeah, I had to start paying rent, and I guess that was why I had to start being an actual person. And it wasn't, it was difficult in the beginning, but at some point we got our shit together, and we were working jobs and just working a lot of jobs, just tons of different things that I was doing. And fucking, at the end of the day, um, I didn't need any 12-step program or anything like that. It was kind of just out of sheer survival. I knew that it was either going to be me staying with the little tiny family that I had my whole life, which it was now just me and my mom, or at that point, just really being kind of homeless and then figuring it out from there, which I didn't have that. I didn't have that 7 years ago or however long. Fucking, you know what I'm talking about? I didn't have that then. I have it now, but so that's what I've just been doing. And then it once I stopped doing drugs, the meth, it changed. Life changed a lot. I just turned into working and then smoking weed and having little things here and there, and just a very kind of boring, simple life.
Mm.
you know, I went out of the country, I traveled and stuff like that, but
Had you had a close relationship with a woman or a man at
yes.
that point?
No, I've never had a boyfriend ever. Um, so the close relationship that I had was when I was still in the other house. So that would have been around, I spent my birthday. That would have been like 20 and 20 or 21. I remember spending my birthday uh the next day. We went to Hustler Casino, and then the next day we got into a really bad fight, and then I went to jail. So that was like when I turned 21. And then we had like an on and off thing until probably maybe before I turned 22, I would have to say. And I haven't been in a serious, honest to God since then. Not really.
Um, can you say that last part again? I think you said serious, honest to God relationship or something like that.
I haven't been in an honest to God relationship since then. I did have in 2013, I had to go out, and like I said, I was staying in Wisconsin with my fucking sister, and it was not good, and they went to go leave, and they were kind of like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, "I'm in fucking Wisconsin. I'm not even from here. What do you want me to do?" And so I ended up, yeah, like I had this like weird thing that was happening between me and this chick, and like I moved in with her, and like I didn't want to have a relationship with her for the longest time, and I don't even, but if that's what you want to call it. So like 2013 was my last serious relationship.
Okay. So, are you depressed during all this, or are you just sort of like,
Depressed is weird. That's a weird way to explain it. Um,
I mean, were you wanting to get out of this life, or was there something, or were you just sort of accepting that everything was going to be like this forever?
No, I mean like I have like dreams and stuff like that, and dream jobs and stuff like that. Obviously, like I'm always doing something new. Like I was a trucker, I was in school for welding before I did the trucking thing. I didn't ever get out of school for welding, but I kept on trying different things to see what I like and what I could do to improve my life. And and then now we're kind of like, if you want to shift forward a little bit, after the whole trucking thing, which was a big endeavor because I completely left and like I was gone and I was on the road. I was all over the place. I was kind of like on my own at that point as
Well, let
well.
me let me get back. Let me get back to your sister. So, I'm guessing during this point where you're not in school and you're doing drugs and shit like that, you then reach out to your half sibling on social media.
I was 23, 2013. I wasn't in
So,
school.
so you were no, but I mean this is after you got out of school, but you
Yeah.
hadn't yet really done much. You've just been in this sort of like fucking off stage, as I think you put it.
Well, I
Um,
was raving a lot. I was going to all the big raves here in California. I would say that. I was spending a lot of time going to events and raving.
and what age did that start?
17.
All right. Um, what? How did you get into raving? Because I know that you're still really into it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Is it something that did it take you away from all this? Is it something like when you discovered it, it was like, oh, this is like
it
a
took
almost like a family
me.
feeling or something, or
I would have to say it was because between the bullying in school, I did have a lot of communication with a lot of people because I was a drug addict, but I had never felt more uh, like accepted and a part of something. You know what I mean? Just
mm-hmm.
like how we're explaining my life, we're just like, oh, just kind of like fucking it off like I was, you know what I mean? Like I didn't have really much going on, but I had found something that had really was able to break me out of the fucking shell of just like not like nastiness, and it was very random, but it happened. And you know it was kind of just like a random thing. It happened randomly, my first rave.
So
I
how often would you go to raves?
Well, starting in '07 after Monster Massive, which was the October rave, which the Halloween one, I went directly to the New Year's one, which was Together as One, and then right after that, in between there, we're going to like in between these, things, we're going to like little underground parties and stuff like that, and and after Together as One, we had the first EDC, which was EDC 2009, and or no, EDC 2008, excuse me. And then and then it just constantly was like a revolving thing. It was like EC and then Halloween and then fucking New Year's and the EC and then Halloween and then New Year's, and then in between we're doing other things and we're going to other events and hanging out with people and meeting people. And we had like MySpace and shit, and back then there was also Plur Life, and so it was a whole like MySpace for ravers. And so I was like, I met a lot of people and, still talk to people from those days. So it wasn't like I wasn't doing anything. I was just kind of partying.
And I'm guessing the type of people is very eclectic too, right? So you probably got a lot of rich kids, poor kids.
You had a whole bunch of everything. You had,
Was this like your first exposure to people that weren't like gang members and drug addicts? And I mean, I'm sure a lot of people did drugs, but what I'm saying is there's
my
probably
first
a
experience. It's my first concert was at 17, if you want to look at it. So yeah, it was kind of my first
But you're meeting people that
experience.
have different kind of backgrounds than you.
Yeah, I'm experiencing like my thing because none of my friends did any of this. Like, really like the my close friends, nobody like I was kind of just doing stuff on my own at that point and meeting a whole bunch of people and kind of just like eventually enveloped all of my friends around me. You know what I mean? Like everybody
Mm.
was now like, I was taking my friends to raves. Like at one point I was making the tickets when it was paper tickets. I would buy a ticket and then I would go to Kinko's and I would make copies of them and I would take all of my friends and then I would sell them. So I was going in with a good amount of money. I remember one time I left a rave with more drugs than I went in with. I didn't. It was crazy. So I was just doing a bunch of weird shit.
So you were like on the internet your whole life, basically, or did you not have access to the internet when you were
No, we
younger?
had the
Or
whole dial up and I remember Roadrunner and all of that shit. Like we had dial up. I had AOL, the whole AIM and all of that other shit. Like I was around it, but like I remember one time our computer got taken because my mom was doing checks and shit, and so I didn't have access to anything. But I had a laptop, and I was playing a lot of laptop games. I had access. I always had a phone. I had a lot of stuff that a lot of people didn't have. I had access to things like that.
okay, so you're like pretty much fucking around online. You were talking earlier about catfishing people,
Oh yeah, I was online a lot.
and at what point do you start getting into the IRL scene from a viewing? Like you even became aware of it. Like at what point did that happen?
Um, from this kind of IRL, like from the IP2 and stuff like that, like a year ago, 2 years ago now, maybe. I don't know.
So who did you first start watching?
I was watching Ice Poseidon.
Okay.
Yeah, I was watching Ice Poseidon. There was something that brought me. I was watching something, and then I started falling on like crazy things that this guy was doing on like the Hollywood Boulevard and shit like that. Like, and then I found his RV stuff. I don't think it was live at that point, or it had just probably. I don't think it was live at that point. And I found that shit, and then there was an RV that was live at that point. I think it was the one with um, Blade RV6. I think
Okay.
I'm not sure. Speedy didn't wasn't around yet. Like there was already one RV that happened that I pulled up in and was watching that. It was the one with that dude Dro that was driving. That was the first RV.
Okay.
And
And you actually went and found this RV and kind of watched them?
yeah, I got addicted to it. I was watching it constantly.
Okay, so when did you actually decide to get involved?
Um, when Captain Content's RV came down here with Speedy and everybody. Oh no, excuse me. Attila was here with Geezer, and I had watched Attila and stuff, and so I met up with Attila and Geezer, and then I did that. I'm correct with Attila, where we got
Wait
egged
a
and
minute.
all of that other thing.
Start back up where you say uh, you met Attila and Geezer.
I met Attila and Geezer, and then I did a stream with them, and then Geezer left, and then I did a stream with Attila, and we got egged and all of that. And I'm pretty sure that's the first stream that I appeared on was that one, and it was I remember meeting them right by that In and Out in Hollywood.
How
And
did you
so
meet up with them? Were you talking to them in the chat
I
room, or
talked to them on Instagram. I talked to Attila on Instagram.
and you were just like, "Hey, Attila, I want to come out and meet you," and he was like, "Sure," or
Oh, well, I seen he was out here, and I was just like, oh, I see, if you want to fucking like smoke or like whatever, hang out, or I'm not sure how it happened, but and he was like, yeah, whatever, da da da, and then I ended up meeting up with him or whatever, and we did that, and then then I was kind of addicted after that,
were they
even more.
cool to you when you met them? Were they like,
Attila was fun, yeah. Geezer was kind of like he was like a fucking. He seemed like back and forth. He seemed like if anybody was unsure about anybody's sexuality at that point, it was definitely him. It was like I felt like because I was bitch tits, right? So I was already kind of had a little bit of a beard, like a little mustache, and I was I was already out. My name was whatever, and then fucking he seemed like he didn't want to hang out, and then he was hanging out, and then he didn't want to hang out, and then now. And then it was just back, like he's just back and forth. He's a back and forth weirdo. But Attila was pretty cool.
and when you
He
met
was
up with
funny.
them, did anything eventful happen? You were actually streaming with them?
Yeah, I wasn't streaming myself, but Attila was. We got egged. Um,
Was it the Egg Gang?
yeah, we got egged. They brought him Jaeger in a $20 bill, and then stuff. We were just kind of like roaming around. We got some food. He got like a torta, and I got a fucking quesadilla. Shit was delicious. Um, Walking around and talking to people, I guess, doing whatever it was that we were doing. And then shortly after that, Captain Contents RV came out here with everybody on it, and so I decided to go and I didn't let anybody know. I kind of just pulled up on those people.
So how did that go?
It was okay. It was good. You know what I mean? I met Speedy and all of that, and I'm not sure if I met Captain. I'm not sure when when that Randy Boo guy was on there. I'm not sure if that's before or after, but I had met up with Captain too, and had met that Randy Boo guy, and I think Trina was there as well. I think that was probably after, but yeah, it was afterwards because I met up with Captain, and then I met Captain, and I met everybody, and everybody was cool. I met Goo had just got the shit beaten out of her that day. Um, Alice was there, Chicken was there, Nano was there, Speedy was there, Aladdin was there, Terrell was there. Everybody was there, so I had met everybody that first time that day, and it was pretty cool. Speedy was cool. We saved Speedy. I guess he was like gonna get his ass beat or some shit. I don't know.
Okay, let me ask you about some of the streamers specifically. Gucci's. What do you think about her?
She's funny and edgy, and she has like a very like sweet side and super sweet. And um, there's like it's almost like a fucked up innocent and like not innocent and grungy and punk rock. I have a weakness for punk rock chicks, so I love Gucci's. I do. She's great.
And when did you meet her?
That night, she had just gotten the shit beaten out of her, and she was there, and she was blackout drunk when I had met up with Speedy and all those people for the first time.
Okay. Um,
She doesn't remember meeting me though, because she was blackout.
so Trina Golden, you had some kind of fling with her. Is that
No,
right?
we were just hanging out. Like it was both of our birthdays, basically. they like mine's is first, and then it's hers and shit. And so uh, I had met her while I was out with Captain's RV and stuff, and then I realized that she was kind of close, and I wanted to stream and do that. And so I hit her up, and it was kind of, at first it was just like I was just over there like fucking around doing like, we went to Six Flags and stuff like that, and it was just something to do, you know what I mean, hang out,
Right.
having a friend, because my best friend, like, like got ghosted by my ex best friend, and so I really didn't have that much going on. And so I was just hanging out with her and doing that stuff, and that was it.
What do you think about her? Do you have a problem with her or anything like that?
No, I don't have a problem with Trina.
Because the rumor is you guys hooked up sexually.
Yeah.
Um, can I ask you about that? Do you mind?
Well, it's a rumor.
Well, not anymore. You just confirmed it.
Yeah, I confirmed that it was a rumor.
Oh, you're confirming it's a rumor. Okay. Have you hooked up with any of the IP2 people?
I made out with a few of them.
Now I heard you made out with Lala.
Yeah.
What was that like? How did that happen?
I don't even know. I was like drinking fucking wine and like fucking sitting there doing my thing, and we were talking, and she's like, "Oh, if people weren't around, like I'd kiss you right now." And I was like, "Well, you could just kiss me right now, like with people here." And then she did, and that was it.
All right. Who else?
Oh, I think I made out with chicken brief. I don't remember. I was blackout. I've kissed Gucci's multiple times. Um, that's it.
But no real sexual encounters.
No.
What is the craziest shit you saw during all of your RV streams?
Man, there's a lot of shit, dude. I
I
would
mean,
have.
shit that was off camera that maybe most people wouldn't know about. Because we all saw a lot of crazy shit for sure.
Um, I don't know. I'm
I
not
mean,
sure if if there was like a off camera, like me and Gucci's, like, I'm not sure if you guys. I don't think it was on. I don't think it was on camera, but we like maced the inside of Captain Content's RV. Well, we maced the door or whatever that shit was inside there, and I don't know if that was filmed. But I don't know. I was drunk a lot, Grady.
right.
I can't. You
Do
know, it's very,
you have any
very.
regrets being on the RV at all?
Um.
Do you miss it?
Well, yeah, I miss hanging out and having people that are, I like it when it is when I'm not the only person that is like buying alcohol, or like when it's a situation where, I don't like, I'm chilling. Like normally when I buy alcohol and I get drunk, I'm not trying to go and drive around. So I would think that that was my biggest regret, is like kind of just driving around drunk a lot. But like a lot of the times is like, oh yeah, gotta go, and I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. I guess it's just like, fucking, I'll just go and fucking like drive drunk as fuck then, or stuff like that. So that would be my biggest regret, was driving drunk and spending too much money.
Okay, so you recently had a top surgery.
Yeah.
where you had your breasts removed.
Yep.
Um, when did you decide on that?
Way long ago. Years ago. I wanted to fucking at least get a breast reduction like fucking forever ago. And then it wasn't made clear until like up until like a couple years ago that I was like, I probably don't even fucking need these fuckers, to be honest. Like, I don't need them. Like, and then I finally just said, fuck it. And I took, last year or whatever, and I was just like, fuck it. Like, let's live like I had went back and forth with the trans thing, and I had never wanted to do it because I thought that I was going to be disappointing other people, when in reality I was just disappointing myself, and I could have been way farther into this process, at a younger age and able to experience different things. But that's okay. So here I am now, feeling great.
So you had the surgery about a month ago,
A little bit over a month ago. Yep.
and do you notice any kind of difference already, or are people treating you differently, or?
Yeah. Well, I knew even just coming back I knew that I had to I had to just start using like certain bathrooms and stuff like that. There's no more back and forth with "Hey, sir, bro." It's just "sir," which is good because it could just like pretty cool if people can just like relax and stop having so many opinions about me just right off the fucking just looking at me. You know what I mean? About like, I'm sure they do, but like very serious political views, I guess you could say, you know. And so now I'm kind of just gliding by and just doing my thing, and the next thing is kind of just like the name change, and which I didn't want to do the gender marker change, but it's just like, I can see how it's going to be a problem later on of going getting jobs and stuff like that, and doing all of that. So unfortunately, so I'm gonna have to do that, and so that's the next thing. Is
Are
doing all of
you
that.
are you planning to get the bottom surgery?
I don't know. It's not a big thing to me right now.
Hmm.
Not really worried about that. As long as bathrooms have stalls, and there's literally like no everything, there's something for everything. Like there's Packers, there's Packer underwear, there's a whole bunch of shit. So it's not like I've had a dick for longer than I was a fucking trans. So um, I don't
And
I
what,
don't
for
really
those
live
who
in.
don't know, what exactly is a packer?
It's a stand piece. So it's a Packer. You can get it's just a Packer, or you can get one as like a stand pee, which, so if you come into like a situation where there isn't a bathroom, or there's a bathroom without a stall or something, you could just like stand and pee into it and pee, but it looks like a dick, but it's kind of hard to use. So that's the reason why I got it. I got it for like kind of like to pee and also to pack, but I don't pack every day. I don't pack a lot actually. I just
Hmm.
choose, like if I'm wearing gray sweatpants, I probably want to pack. You know what I'm saying?
Are you very integrated into the gay community, or do you feel like you're alienated from that community?
Not alienated. I just don't go over there. I don't. I don't. I don't have a lot of gay friends like that.
Well, I mean, I think we've talked before where you had mentioned that you didn't really feel accepted when you did go to sort of gay events.
It wasn't that I would feel accepted. It's just that I use like I call things faggots, and I do stuff, and I'm not like the typical like let's be offended about fucking everything kind of shit. And I don't have entitlement, and like I just feel like there's a like that. There's a lot of people in that community, not everybody, but like it's not something that I need to validate my gayness, I guess. I don't know. Like it's a
Right.
cool event. Like, oh yeah, like I just remembered like I'll hear about the pride's over there. It's not something that I wait for like raves. I'm not like, oh, I can't wait for next year's pride. Like,
Right. So you're like basically not even political, but
no, I don't
because
give a
but
shit about any of that.
but because you don't maybe necessarily agree with every single thing, they kind of maybe ignore you. Because I know
Uh,
one thing you had mentioned to me before was that when you go to these like you would go to trans events hoping to meet other trans people, and there would be like drag queens there who are basically like gay guys who are not transgender.
that's I don't go to trans events. I've never gone to a trans event.
Well, I thought you had told me you went there to try to meet other trans, and there were drag queens there that.
No, that's false. You're thinking about somebody else. I've never gone out of my way to go to a trans event because the most of the time of being in the first year being trans was all pretty much recorded. I've didn't have a lot of time of being trans and it not being on the internet somehow. So I was spending a lot of time hanging out with IP2 people. I wasn't, other than I would go to Hamburger Mary's, you know what I mean? But of course, there's drag queens there. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
I've never done a trans event ever in my life. I've had a date that was non-binary, and I didn't know what the fuck. That was like way before everything, and I didn't know what the fuck was happening. But like that, like no.
Okay. What are your plans for the future?
Um, right now. It's there's kind of a difference. There's like with everything that I've been doing recently, there's like a short term and a long term. The short term I've been able to kind of start getting back to just, doing the normal work and stuff like that. I start work again tomorrow because I'm only like a little bit over a month post-op. So, we're getting back into working and doing that and I think I want my next thing to be getting my own place. That would be great. But I live in LA and it's difficult out here to find something that's affordable, that's not going to make you rent poor. So I'm not sure. I'm going to go looking at things. That was going to be my next thing is kind of just getting back into work and looking at different things that I see as far as apartments for rent. But that's kind of like the next thing, kind of just getting my own place and then maybe going back to school and figuring something out like that. Maybe something I'm not sure what yet.
Well, do you have any plans for IRL future or
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I can not be juggling everything, yeah, I want to. There's not a lot of things out here that I haven't done already. Like the boulevard and stuff like that. I really don't have money to be financing my own shit. Nobody, people don't donate to finance my outings. So I've got to be putting money away or putting money into that. And it's just, it's not my fucking go-to thing for fun. Like it's fun, but like it's also me going and driving and spending gas and then being out and putting myself out in a situation where things can happen, and it's not like the most fun thing that I want to fucking do. You know what I mean? But I do want to do it. I do have some ideas that I think would be cool to do out on the streets.
All right, I have a few other things I want to ask you about, and then we'll wrap it up. So you're currently living in Compton, which is famous for being the home of NWA, Suge Knight, and a lot of rappers. It's known as being a very violent place with a lot of crime, a lot of gang activity. Yet, it almost seems like in Compton, this might be your most stable environment you've had. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I've been trying to make it stable. I've been doing the things that people fucking do to have a life, like working and having different goals, even if they aren't like the biggest and best goals. You know what I mean? But I think I've accomplished pretty much a lot in the last year, and this year is just going to be, another year to accomplish things. It doesn't really. It's just the fact that I'm actually trying, and I'm not on drugs, and it's the first time that I feel the most mentally stable and confident in my ability to just live, you know.
Well, you still drink and smoke weed, right? But you don't do anything else.
No, no, not
And
really.
both
I
of
do
those things,
mushrooms. I do
those are legal out there, right? So
yeah, I do mushrooms though. I like to do magical mushrooms.
So does Compton live up to the hype?
I'm not sure. I think what you're talking about.
Well, nationwide, Compton's known as this like notorious, almost ghetto. Where
Um,
all these like, I guess I hate to use the word thug, but these sort of like thug life type rappers come from, and it seems like it would be a very dangerous place to live. It seems like there would be a lot of chaos and shootings and crimes and
you do
killings.
hear gunshots pretty much every night, like late as fuck at night, or there's street takeovers that I filmed. There's like, you don't go around here just like mean mugging people and acting like you're a fucking tough guy because, there's
A lot of
there's
gang
somebody out
activity.
there that's gonna fucking challenge you, and be like, oh, so what's up, motherfucker? You know what I mean?
Do you have like any kind of problems with gangs, or since you're not involved, it doesn't really
No,
affect
I don't
you?
have problems with gangs or anybody like that. I don't have. I'm very non. I know where I live at and what gangs are like. What hood I live in. Like everybody should know if you live in the ghetto, like what hood you live in. You don't want to like be wearing the wrong color for some reason and then like fucking be
What's
in the
just
wrong
out of
place.
curiosity? What's the color you don't want to be wearing in your hood?
Red.
Okay, so you're like in a crip area.
Yeah.
All right, but nobody really fucks with you. Do you know? Are there any rappers living around there still?
Sure
Because
there are.
I mean, there are some guys that were like kind of one hit wonders that just kind of might still be around.
I met YG out here one time in the hood that he is from out here in Compton. But
Okay.
I no, I'm sure there are rappers like that. One of
Kendrick
my
Lamar is. Do you ever hear of him being around? Because he's from Compton, right?
he doesn't come out here. You know who does come out here a lot? Steve Will Do It comes out here a lot.
Who?
Steve Will Do It. Steve Will Do It from the Nelk Boys. He comes out here a lot.
Okay.
He's always doing something at Millionaire Burger Boys over there off the Long Beach Boulevard.
So you don't ever see any of these like Compton rappers up in the community trying to do anything for Compton or
Sure.
so they just pretty much took out of the fucking community and then took off, right? Because they've made money off Compton. They've made money off the image and everything that goes on there, but they don't
No,
come
I don't
around.
know anybody in this area that I haven't seen anything
How
like
big is
that.
Compton? Is it a huge area or
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that big. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of that. Why I say that is because I remember them saying like it's a area with a whole bunch of different gang area like areas put together. You know what I mean? Like their
right?
territories are put together so close that you can be on one side of the street and cross over, and then you're in like another fucking hood.
And from my
And
understanding, even the Crips and Bloods within their own gangs have beef, right? Like you have different Bloods
I'm
on
not
different
sure.
blocks,
I'm
and
not sure how that works.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. We need to get into one more thing. You're fighting. You're known for fighting. How did that all come about? When was your first fight? When did you really like get physical with someone?
Uh, like on IP2.
No, just in life. You know what I mean? Like, were
Oh,
you really
I
because
don't.
you're not a fighter in real life? You just sort of a like a.
I haven't had a lot of fights,
Did you go to the Hoist Gracie MMA?
Yeah, I practiced with the Gracie family, yeah.
Okay, at what age?
Um, 22, 20, like, hold on. Around like maybe 18
And how long were you training with them?
or 17, 16, 15.
That's
I'm not
quite a
sure.
range.
Yeah,
15 to
whatever, doesn't
22.
fucking matter.
Well,
I
were you with them
for
very
a little
long
bit,
or?
it became too expensive for my mom.
Okay. And I think you had told me a story about you kind of got into it with them a little bit.
No, I didn't get into it with them at all. They had asked me what I wanted out of it. I guess you could kind of date when I was working with them from the fact that there was no women in the UFC at that time, and Ronda Rousey wasn't even um, a thing in the UFC yet. And so they asked me what I wanted, and I said that I wanted to be a UFC fighter, and then they laughed at me, and they also commented on how like how do I know how to do the arm bar so well, and I was like, well, I watch a lot of UFC, and then blah blah blah. And then like shortly after all of that happened, those same people are like in Ronda Rousey's corner, like I'm not sure why they laughed at me when they already knew that I had talent, but I think it was because I was a biological woman, so they were laughing at me. But here they
And
are.
they didn't really think any woman could wrestle, or were you
I didn't
like
ask them. I didn't get into detail about that. They just fucking laughed, and that was it.
you just basically said you wanted to be a UFC fighter and they started laughing at you?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was wondering if it was more like you were wanting to fight the guys or if there were actually like a woman. You didn't get the
No, I
point.
was good. I was good. I was doing like I knew how to. I was doing things like I was progressing. Like I was going. Like I'm good. I was good at it. You know what I mean? And then I was practicing with my friend off the side, like years later. Like you know what I mean? So I was good at it, but it was just a matter of like women weren't wanting to be UFC. Like they weren't fighting in the UFC yet. And
Okay,
so it
so
was kind of like, oh, well, that's nice, but like, Good luck.
Right. So at what point did you start fighting on the RVs?
Um, I fought a guy of the name of Young Camel Toe.
Young Camel Toe. I haven't heard of him, but it's quite a name.
Yeah, Young Camel Toe. He's on Instagram. He's got thousands of followers. Anyway, I was it was the night after a long night of drinking, and it was the day after, and uh, I was like still kind of wasted, and there's this guy walking by, and he was a black guy, and I was trying to get him to say nigger, and or excuse me, trying to get him to say the N word, and then it turned out like Captain Content had boxing gloves, and we asked him where he was coming from, and he was coming from like the gym, and he had like gloves of his own and stuff like that, and so we did that, and that's when I had that. I did it in my socks. Took my shoes off, and I did it in my socks on like the hot ass fucking pavement, like fucking blacktop road, and like fucking got a hole in my foot from doing that because it kind of like got like a blister, I guess, immediately and ripped open.
Did you win?
Uh, there was he was running away. There wasn't much of any winning. It was kind of me just swinging at air because he was like running away from me.
So I'm guessing
But he was
after
definitely
that.
the better boxer, of course. I mean, he can move around pretty good, you know.
So I'm guessing after that, everyone's
After
wanting
that,
to.
I'm pretty sure what happened is that DJ Darren had seen that, and that maybe like I don't know, a month, I don't know, sometime after that, DJ Darren popped up, and he brought his clothes, and he already knew what he was doing because I was there, and he was all like, "Oh, I seen boxing." He threw his bag of gloves out and shit into the RV, and then I put them on, and then we boxed, and then I did a no tell motel, I think. Oh no,
Holiday
the
Inn.
no tell motel was first with Cheeto. I tapped Cheeto out first. After Young Camel Toe, I had the No Tell Motel where it was, Pelucine in the fucking naked as fuck in the bathroom and having sex with Jacob or something like that. And then Attila was there, and then me and Cheeto, and then I tapped him out. And then after that, um, Darren did that thing with the boxing gloves, and then I fought him. And then I fought Sonny, and
And
yeah,
you felt Sonny cheated, right?
Sonny cheated.
Yeah, didn't you say he was stepping on your feet or something?
Oh yeah, he stepped on my toes a little bit. Yeah, it's not that he cheated. It's just that when everybody thought that I got knocked down because he hit me, what it was is he stepped on my foot, and when he did connect, I fell over because I'm also drunk, So yeah, it was that, and then I fought LD. That's the one after Sonny.
So what do you feel your record is?
Like a fucking two and one.
Who's the draw?
Young Camel Toe.
Oh, okay. Young Camel Toe.
Yeah,
So you beat.
I definitely tapped Cheeto out, and I definitely
And
beat up BJ Darren,
yeah,
and
and you
then
feel like
Sonny.
you lost to Sonny. And who's the second
Sonny
loss?
definitely was the better boxer. I was already drunk at that point, and people want to say that I lost to LD, and so I'll just take the L. My face definitely looked worse than his, but that's not how you rule fights. But that's okay. We can do that. That's
Are you
fine.
done fighting, or do you want some more?
No, I'm not done fighting. I think that I'm done fighting for nothing. I think that there's enough people that want me to fight that they should like fucking we should figure out what we're doing there and get people to pay us for it. There's no reason why we need to beat the shit out of each other for free.
Okay, one last thing. Who Captain Content, what do you think about him?
I think that he's a streamer guy. He's not a bad dude. I think that he's super jaded. I think that he can be a little bit selfish sometimes, or a lot of the times. But he's not like a bad guy. None of these people, only a select few, which, whatever, are like, kidding me up and like even, talking to me. So, which that's not what Captain does. But, he's doing his own thing. He's never like, I've never wanted to beat the shit out of him, so that's good.
Right, so he's known for being cheap, but
Yeah, he's kind of a cheap
he
shekel
never
counter.
really he's never really promised you anything anyway, right? You were just like coming over there, hanging out.
Yeah, no, he's never. I don't think he's not for me. He's never been like, oh, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? I never asked him for anything. I just, what I mean, was there hanging out and providing content. I would call. I would ask to see if I could come over or not. You know what I mean? And for addresses and stuff like that. But I wouldn't like ask him for money or anything. Like I've never asked Captain for money.
Well, I mean, he won't even buy people food or share water or anything, right?
Um,
Like if you had water there, you need to bring your own, right? Like he's not going to let
No,
you.
no, he's let me drink his water bottles.
Okay.
Yeah, he's let me use his bathroom. He's bought chicken or whoever bought chicken. He's offered me food before and stuff like
Not
that.
that every person that you're hanging out with needs to pay, but oftentimes he makes a lot of money off of the people all day.
Well,
Then
yeah,
they go out and he doesn't offer to pay for anyone.
that's
So
the problem with that is that we all know like we're all there hearing donation after donation, and it's just like there was never like a oh let's all go and whoever's here, let's all go and fucking do something. You know what I mean? Or let me get a whole bunch of food and like be like thank you for helping me out and stuff like that with donations. There was nothing ever anything like that. You know.
okay. Well, Drizzle, I want to thank you for hanging out,
Thank you for inviting me.
and that completes the first episode of Grady TV.
Nice.
If anyone needs to contact you, where can they do that? I guess you're on YouTube,
Yeah,
Xtradrizzle.
so I am on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of people know what that is, but it's Xtradrizzle, Xtradrizzle. And on Instagram it's the same thing, Extra Drizzle, but with a 90 at the end. And that's kind of the only way that I really connect with people right now.
All right. Well, thanks again.
All right, thank
Take it
you.
easy.
All right, for sure.